Protect yourself, Rodney. Protect yourself, Rodney. Good call. I got mine. I got mine on order from Amazon.
Paul. And tonight we are going to take a side trip. We're going to talk about UFOs and how the Urantia book kind of validates the UFO phenomena. All right. And normally we don't talk about UFOs in our. Yeah, just hit OK. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to talk about UFOs and talk about how UFOs are related to the Urantia book and how the Urantia book kind of validates this whole UFO phenomena. All right. And before we started recording the meeting tonight, we went through several videos that's posted here on your screen. And these you can find on YouTube. All right. And if you'd like this, you can go to this page on Fifth Epical Revelation Fellowship. And if you'd like to know the full address of the page, you can email me, or you can actually just write these names down and type them in, and they'll come up. The reason we didn't play them during our meeting time we're recording is I don't want to get an issue with copyright problems. So that's why we didn't play them on screen, just for the people in the meeting group here. We are going to go through a couple things on the screen that are from Dr. Stephen Greer. He's a medical doctor. He's been working on contact with alien species for years. And I'm going to take you to his site in a minute, and we'll go from there. So let's start out with Dr. Greer. And he has a Twitter account too. I don't use Twitter myself, but he's got some interesting stuff there too. I'm getting some feedback from someone.
Yeah.
I don't know where that's coming from. I'm getting real bad feedback now. Are you?
Did I unplug my head? Let me unplug my ear.
Your voice.
Are you still getting it?
It says muted.
Are you still getting feedback?
Yeah, I am, for some reason, from somebody else.
I unplugged these, so I'm not caught.
No, that's not it, Millie. I think it might be. Are you muted now?
It says mute, but it doesn't have the line through it. When I put the line
Okay, we'll put the line through it because it's not. Okay, that's what it's supposed to do. Okay, that's it there, right there. Okay. All right.
I was going to say, I thought it might be Rodney's helmet.
That's right.
why I'm muted.
Yeah.
I'm muted.
Could be.
Yeah, baby.
All right. I'm going to go to Cyrus Disclosure first. This is one of Dr. Greer's sites. And under this, let me go over here. I'm going to have to close this window here. Under this, there's an expose on the cosmic hoax, it says. And this is a very interesting expose that he's written. I suggest you go out and read it on your own, because it's very, very interesting. He's also got a site that's called S Disclosure on YouTube. And this is his site on YouTube, and he's got multiple videos about his group and making contact with alien species. And this is a very interesting site too. He's got some videos on here that are well worth watching, and I recommend you do that. Okay, that's past what we're going to do tonight. But what I would like to do is to go to a paper he wrote in 1995. And we don't usually do this, get away from the Urantia book enough to do something like this. But this paper, I think, is very important to all humanity to learn. Okay, so we're going to read through this like we do the Urantia book, okay, tonight. because the information on this, all citizens of the planet should hear and know. Okay, so that's why I'm going to go through it with y'all's permission, right? And this is by Dr. Stephen Greer. He's an MD, and he stopped his practice to work full-time on contact with alien species. Okay, so he's dedicated to what he's doing. All right, so let's start out with you, Ed, and would you take the first part all the way down to historical background?
Certainly. August 1995, national security implications of the UFO/ETI subject are profound and far-reaching, I'll bet currently unrecognized. These implications may be considered to be separate but related aspects, those intrinsic to extraterrestrial activity and those arising from current covert management of the issue.
Okay, so this is what he's talking about is the national security implications of all this stuff that's going on. And that's why I think this is so important. So let's go on. Rodney, would you take the next paragraph?
Yes, historical background. Early national security considerations dealt with concern over public panic arising from the detection of near-Earth and Earth-landed extraterrestrial spacecraft, parentheses ETS, and from the technological implications of advanced extraterrestrial material as it may impact the arms race and Cold War. Additional concerns were related to the impact on religious belief systems, the political order, and economic systems.
And that's just exactly what we're talking about tonight, isn't it? How this relates to religious systems, right? Not only religious systems, but the political and economic systems affecting the world. Okay.
The economic system, that's a big deal right there.
That's a very big deal. That we're talking about all the Cold War stuff and all the war machine, right? Mm-hmm. All right. Millie, would you take the next one?
Yes. Importantly, once actual ETs were retrieved in 1947, thereby allowing extraterrestrial hardware to be studied and back engineered for the purpose for possible human military applications. That's right, let's go fight them, shoot them.
Yeah.
The need for complete secrecy regarding the matter was deemed paramount by authorities at that time. Given the tensions of the early atomic era and the mounting Cold War with the USSR, it is understandable that the introduction of extraterrestrial technology was thought to be destabilizing to an already dangerous situation. Moreover, given the history and technological secrets related to atomic and hydrogen weapons being stolen by agents of the USSR, there was understandably concern that any technology breakthrough related to extraterrestrial technology might find its way into the Soviet hands. If such an event enabled the USSR to produce actual military applications before the US, obviously, this would have placed the US military capability in a potentially catastrophic disadvantage.
Okay, now, one thing in this paragraph that's very important is the fact that in 1947, they actually retrieved extraterrestrial technology.
That's Area 51 in New Mexico is what they're referring to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Is that Roswell? That's the famous Roswell incident.
That's the Roswell incident.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's the same thing.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah. Now, what's interesting about this is Diane and I watched a movie from a guy that was stationed out there in the 40s. And he has made claims, he's wrote a book, he's made claims that he was in charge of communicating with extraterrestrial beings that actually landed out there and stayed at a base out there for over 10 years. And he communicated with them regularly. So, which is 4 or 5 different beings. Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
And
So-
that gentleman's name is?
Was that Bob Lazar?
No, no, it wasn't. It was another gentleman, and I don't remember his name, but I'm sure if you kind of do a search on YouTube, you can find his video, because all you have to do is type in tall, white-haired aliens.
Yes.
That's what.
Oh, what?
Tall, white-haired aliens. They were tall and
Oh,
skinny.
tall, white-haired lady. Okay.
Yeah, I believe you could find it that way. He was a Air Force. He was in the Air Force out there, and that's the way he described them. Is they were very tall with white hair and very thin. So, and he's wrote a book. It's out there, so you could do a search to find it. All right, let's keep moving on. Mike, would you take the next one?
Since the 1970s, we have reason to believe that a degree of cooperation on this matter has evolved with the USSR, which doesn't exist anymore,
No.
and the US, and perhaps other nations. Certainly, the end of the Cold War has largely removed earlier concerns vis-a-vis technological breakthroughs and the fear of Soviet aggression.
All right, Gary, would you like to take the next one? That's a long one.
Okay. Moreover, the psychological reasons for secrecy related to public panic are not valid today. At least 57% of the populations accept that UFOs are real and are of extraterrestrial origin. And 30 to 40 years of space exploration by human society has prepared populations for the possible existence of other extraterrestrial civilizations capable of space travel. In short, the previous concerns motivating secrecy are not relevant today. Intrinsically, there is no reason to believe that the extraterrestrial presence pose a threat to the nation or the world's security. If hostility and aggression were related to their purpose here, it likely that events congruent with hostility would have transpired long before now. It is our assessment that the extraterrestrials are not hostile, but are very concerned with human capacity related to warfare and the militarization of space. Activity by extraterrestrial assets related to the neutralization of the ICBMs facilities and to containing military, and I'm out of space.
Oh, are you? Oh, sorry. Let me move it down here.
Matilda.
There we go.
And military, military-oriented space exploration should be understood in light of their concern over a known history of human aggression, which has been coupled with the advent of weapons of mass destruction and space exploration. Indeed, given the past history of human military assets focusing on and pursuing extraterrestrial spacecraft, we believe the extraterrestrials have responded with remarkable restraint.
Amen to that one.
Amen.
Don't you believe it?
Idiots down on a spinning ball blow each other up or have the potential to. They're going,
Yeah.
what a bunch of freaking idiots. Those people.
Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing that they have been so patient with us, honestly. And the fact that in the last 20 years, they have disengaged our nuclear weapons multiple times over multiple nuclear bases should tell us that they're not going to let us go but to a certain point anyway, right?
I
Now,
hope so.
I want to inject the Urantia book in this paragraph a little bit here, y'all. Think about this. We know that we have midway creatures, right? And we know that the midway creatures have physical capabilities. So they also could do the same thing. They could basically make our nuclear weapons inert, at any time they chose to do so, right? So we not only have the extraterrestrials trying to keep us from killing ourselves, but we have the celestial government trying to keep us from killing ourselves, right? So how many types of beings do we need before we get the idea we can't keep making war on each other,
Well, a lot more the way things are going.
We're going to continue to do this until we come to our senses. And so whatever that entails, we don't know. We're sitting here chewing this thing up. We had no idea.
Yeah.
The point is that mankind has got to find his own way. And they're just trying to help us from completely obliviating ourselves.
Yeah, until that happens, right? That's right.
Actually, I read somewhere.
That drop on my head.
Yeah.
I read somewhere one of the reasons they became more prominent, I guess, after World War II is the fact that our nuclear testing and nuclear explosions interfere with outer space.
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense. When you have a reaction as big as a nuclear explosion, those waves have to reverberate into the atmosphere and go out into the other planets and everything else, right? So it's an interesting thought. Oops, sorry, sweetie. Scared my cat here. Yeah.
Actually, and another thing that I've done some reading on this stuff. There is supposed to have been, I don't know how to say it, but it's believed that secretly we have there's
Agency.
an energy force that we can utilize using argon gas and electricity, etc.
Yeah.
That is phenomenal. You could have a 1 foot square unit in your house or car and just go forever with all the power you
What do you think will
possibly
stop
need.
that, Gary?
Oh,
Let me ask you, what do you think is stopping that from happening right now?
The energy
What's stopping
companies.
that right now, Gary?
The energy
The
company.
energy
You're
companies.
damn right.
Mike.
We just talked about how it was going to upset our economic system.
Oh,
Yes.
hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it
Right.
goes beyond that too.
That's one of the things that would help upset our economic system would be to give us free energy.
Yeah.
All the
Mhm.
gas
Tesla
people, all
had
the
the idea
electricity
100 years
people.
ago. Big
Well, that's
deal.
why Tesla was such a threat, right? Because that's what he wanted to do.
That's why his factory was burned down.
Yeah, exactly. Bill, would you take the next paragraph, please?
Okay. In contrast, the covert and apparently extra constitutional management of this matter is a real threat to national and world security and undermines the constitutional freedom and democracy. Unless it is terminated, this covert management will greatly harm U.S. national security and the chances of a lasting world peace.
Do y'all understand what he's saying here?
I see what he says, but
Yeah.
I don't agree with it.
What he's saying is if we don't stop messing around with this, and in other words, if the government doesn't stop making this a secret and opening this up for the whole world, number one, it's illegal. It's against democracy and freedom. And
Right.
unless it's terminated, it could basically cause harm to not only our national security, but the chances of world peace.
Mhm.
Okay.
Like we got world peace now.
Yeah,
Well,
we don't even
do.
have anything
We do
close
for
to
all
world.
practical purposes. We're not blowing the whole planet's not blowing each other up,
Yeah,
but there are spots of it. point
Right.
is, this thing this guy's making is the fact that because of that, they're not going to do anything until we settle this thing down. And that is not going to happen anytime soon. And we should come to that conclusion that, look, this is a slow process. Evolution is slow. This
It
is nothing but evolution. And it's
Mhm.
working toward a unification of one world, one unification. It's what the Urantia book talks about all the time.
Yeah, and it'll happen
Yeah,
sooner
it
or later.
does. It does, Roger.
Yeah, it will eventually happen. Like it or not, it will eventually happen, right? That's
But the,
I mean, this is what we need. This is what the book says what needs to happen.
Yes, yeah.
We have to do it in ourselves.
Well, what he's
It
saying
plays
here,
out
though,
like a
what
rocket
he's saying here, though, Mike, is by trying to keep this under the wraps from the people, that it's taken our freedom away to progress.
Okay,
basically.
so they are.
Yeah.
So eventually it's going to come out open. You know, when they figure we're ready to see it, or when there's enough intelligence in the regular populace to say, hey, we want to know what's going down.
Well, think of
They'll
this.
open it up, and it's beginning to open up now. And you know that
Well,
from the
it
latest news. Come on.
Has anybody besides me read the theory that was why JFK was killed? Because he wanted
Oh,
to
yeah. Yeah, we
expose.
saw a movie about that the other day.
Yeah, he wanted to expose the fact
Yeah.
that we are
Too
being
early.
visited.
Now think
early.
about
Yeah.
this, y'all. This document was written in 1995 by Dr. Greer. Okay, 1995. It's 2021, and it's still this information is they're just going to make an announcement supposedly this month. So it's taken 20 some more years.
26 years.
Evolution is slow.
Yeah.
Evolution is slow.
Well, we're trying to understand the points he's making here.
And the
okay?
thing about it is a control thing by the power elite that really wants to keep the keep the masses in darkness.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's been
These
that
guys
way.
have to realize one thing. You're right. Evolution is slow. Societal evolution, technological evolution is much more rapid. It's progressing on a geometric propulsion as opposed to an arithmetic that's societal. And I read somewhere, and I can't tell you where, maybe one of Dr. Greer's books, but I believe it was the past president of the Northrop Corporation, which is involved in this stuff. And the past president, I think on his departing thing, said that we now have the capability of not only allowing ET to call home, but we can take him home.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Bill,
You're right, Jerry.
let's go on to the next paragraph because we won't get through this one document tonight if we're not. We're
Well,
almost.
you brought it up, so I mean,
Yeah.
we'll talk about it. Let's wrap it
Yeah,
up.
well, we're going to talk about it all before it's all over. I want
Yeah,
to get to the
right.
book part of it too. All right,
That's
Bill, would
fine.
you take the next paragraph?
I just read, Roger.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Well, Jane, would you take the next one then?
Okay. Assessment. It is our assessment that the current covert management of this issue involves the following elements, which are a direct, immediate, and ongoing threat to the national security.
And go ahead and take the first one too, Jane.
1. The continued denial of the extraterrestrial presence creates a situation where a sudden, undeniable public extraterrestrial event could induce panic, since proactive disclosure efforts which could ameliorate public fears are non-existent. It is likely that such a public extraterrestrial event will transpire within the next 2 to 10 years or sooner. Therefore, secrecy and denial are a real threat to national and world security.
All right. Missouri or Lesh, would you take the next one, please?
Okay. The current covert management of this issue appears to be operating independently and outside of the constitutional chain of command. The group controlling these operations, which involves reconnaissance, extraterrestrial technology, back engineering, and space-based targeting of ETS, among others, is non-responsive to congressional or executive branch oversight and control. This constitutes a real and grave threat to national security and to constitutional democracy and freedom.
And that's a real problem, and it still goes on today,
what I
20
was-
some years later.
Just what I was saying.
Yeah, it has not changed, right?
Mhm.
So we have not evolved from that. Okay, Diane, would you take the next one, please?
3, we have credible firsthand sources who insist that extraterrestrial spacecraft have been targeted by human covert space weapons, and on at least 2 occasions have been destroyed. If true, the risks to avoid world peace and security are real and imminent, and the continuation of these covert activities constitutes the gravest dangers to national and world security. Hostile actions taken by human covert assets against extraterrestrials assets constitute a grave and immediate threat to the national security. A relatively small covert entity acting without consultation with the United Nations, the Congress, the President of the United States, or the public is engaging in actions on behalf of all humans which endanger the earth and world peace. Unless controlled, these actions could precipitate interplanetary conflict and a disaster for the world generally and the United States specifically. This covert management must be terminated and control of this issue returned to the constitutional authority and to public domain.
That's why it must be under
I agree.
the control of the government itself, under our Constitution, the government itself, congressional control, the control of the president, and the control of the House, right? And of course, the Supreme Court. Okay, it needs to be back under that control, not just some covert military operation going out without permission to do so, right? That's what we're saying here. Rodney, would you take the next one, please?
Yes. 4, the concentration of the technological advances related to the back engineering of extraterrestrial technology into the hands of a small covert operation constitutes a grave and immediate threat to the national security, to world security, and to the future of the earth. These extraterrestrial technologies, which have been the subject of covert research and development for over 45 years, are potentially of great benefit to humanity if used wisely for peaceful purposes, but are of immense danger when concentrated into a small covert operation which is unresponsive to the public or the legal and constitutional chain of command. The threat this poses to the U.S. and world security is great, and the longer this situation continues, the greater the concentration of advanced technological power in the hands of a relative few. The secret control of such powerful technologies is inherently a threat to freedom, democracy, and to our nation and the world. Its utilization for covert agendas outside constitutional control represents a grave danger to the U.S., it must be restrained and reversed.
This should have happened years ago. It's still going on, right?
Yep.
All right. Ed, would you take the next one, please?
Importantly, security and covert operations per se constitutes a real threat to the national security, since national security in a constitutional democracy can only be legitimately related to freedom and democratic government. Only in a very rare and well-justified circumstances can extreme security and covert operations exist. Since by nature, freedom and democracy cannot coexist with unrestricted security and secret power. The profound implications of this detection of extraterrestrial civilizations cannot be allowed to be the exclusive domain of covert operations, which are unrelated to public discourse and consultation. To do so is to undermine the US Constitution, democracy, and freedom. And this constitutes a real grave threat to national security.
All right.
Point of information, most of this sounds like a rehash of the, and I believe it's the 1957 RAND report, on which a lot of connections with extraterrestrials are based on.
Yeah.
And so if you get a chance, that report by the RAND Corporation is well worth taking a look at.
Reading it. Okay. All right. Millie, would you take the sixth one, please, for us?
Yes. Finally, exclusive covert control of this matter has resulted and continues to result in the loss of opportunity for the world to come to terms with the extraterrestrial presence in a peaceful and mutually beneficial fashion. This means that the people of the world, the United Nations, and other international and national institutions are deprived of the opportunity to deal rationally with this issue. National and world security are therefore negatively impacted by the loss of opportunity in the following areas.
Mike, would you take the next one, the environment?
Well, let's start with the environment, which is seriously at risk for large-scale collapse over the next 100 years, really. Would be profoundly improved if extraterrestrial technologies could be peacefully deployed. So-called zero-point or free energy systems, which are non-polluting, would permit a sustainable technological civilization to exist on Earth and would transform the Earth environmentally and economically, establishing peaceful and mutually beneficial relations with extraterrestrial civilizations would eventually permit us to understand and apply such technologies.
Well, that makes sense.
It damn does.
All right, Gary, would you take the next one, please? We're going to finish this before we quit tonight. So,
world unity and peace will be enhanced by the global realization that we are not alone in the universe.
amen.
The acknowledgement of this fact will enhance the awareness that we are really one people living on a shared homeland of Earth, and many of the conflicts currently affecting the Earth will be seen in a new perspective. This can be achieved without either defying, I'm not sure what the next, I can't see it on my screen, something defying.
Or
all I see.
demonizing. Yeah.
Fine.
Do I need to raise it or
Or-
lower it for you? Is that better?
Need to move to the left just a hair.
To the left, just a hair. I don't know if this will affect yours or not. Did it?
No,
No.
it's okay. Where am I at?
Demonizing.
Ooh, demon. Okay, hang on. I messed up my page here. Hang on. Let me do this. Okay, that should be back. Okay, now I'm in.
He was
or
up-
sentences down.
This
Oh,
can be achieved.
demonizing the extraterrestrial presence, but rather placing it in a fair, scientific, and neutral light. Eventually, world peace and a significant enhancement of the current geopolitical situation may result in the disclosure that we are not alone. A international in
Infrastructure.
infrastructure and institutions capable of dealing peacefully with relations with extraterrestrial civilizations would, of necessity, evolve, and this in turn would strengthen world unity and cooperation.
Normal evolution, right?
Normal evolution, yeah.
That's what we're talking about here,
Unity
right?
and cooperation. That's key words. Strengthen
That's right.
world unity and cooperation.
That's right. Bill, would you take the next one?
Sure. World culture, ideas, science, and many other diverse areas may benefit through the development of peaceful relations with other worlds. While this process may take decades, if not centuries, its delay only puts off the time when the people of the earth will be united, not only globally, but with other planetary civilizations as well.
All right, I'll do the summary. In summary, it is imperative to the national security that the president and the Congress undertake measures to terminate the secret covert management of the UFO ETI subject. Failure to place this matter in open public disclosure and control constitutes the gravest failure of democracy and government in the history of the world. That we do this is a test of our faith in democracy and our faith in the people. As the 21st century approaches, we must roll up the cancerous excesses of secrecy, which are the legacy of the Cold War, and unfurl a new era wherein democracy is reaffirmed and the lasting world peace is given a chance. Stephen M. Greer, MD.
Amen.
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 And I
Amen.
think
know,
that
yeah,
was
we-
worth reading tonight as we get into this subject. And we're
Mhm.
definitely going to have to do another session to even get in the book part of this.
That's good. That this is a study. I mean, we are studying this.
Well, we're going to study, we really took up the UFO part of this tonight. And the next time we're going to take up how this relates to the book itself. Okay. And all the different aspects of how this relates to the book. Okay. And we'll start right here on this quote from paper 130, which we have read before. Y'all have seen this quote before. We just read this not too many weeks ago. So we're going to talk about that next time, and we will continue with our study on the UFO stuff. And I didn't say an opening prayer on purpose because this is a different type of subject, but I'm going to close this in prayer tonight. Okay. Let me stop the share here. Oh, let me say one other thing before I close. You can find this paper you can go to the Fifth Epical Revelation Fellowship. If you go to the blue section, the blue illustrated section, go all the way to the end. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. Let me go over here. If you go to the blue version and go in the papers, and at the end of the papers, just type in UFO-Urantia-references.htm. It'll bring up this page for people at home that doesn't get our mail. So that's how you can find this page. It's under our Urantia book, the blue BI. It's on the Atlanta Urantia Study Group and the Fifth Epical Study Group. It's under the BI version. All right. All right, so let's say a little prayer and we will close tonight here. Father, thank you for bringing us together tonight that we might study this revelation along with this information. We're going to relate it back. We hope you'll help us do this, that we can understand where our place in the universe is, where our place in the cosmos is, and how we should relate to each other. We thank you. We give you the praise in your son, Michael, Jesus of Nazareth. Amen.
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 Rodney, if you get any broad